Hi, everybody. It's Jeff Hopper with Jeffrey Cranford.
Well, this is exciting for me because to get this guy back after all he's been through over this last year is really, really exciting. I know your voice is going to be a little strained over this series, but we needed you back. We've had you on injured reserve for too long, so we're glad to have you back, buddy. I know our Devo lovers love you and appreciate all the ministry you've done through these many years. So I'm excited to do this whole series with you.
You make me sound old.
You do sound old today.
I do. We have a brand new series for you. It's called Are You Qualified? Jeff, there's always these little things you can love about the game. Everybody has their little things, and I'm dead serious when I say that one of the things that I've always loved about golf is scoreboards. And I don't mean the modern scoreboards. I mean beautiful hand-written scoreboards like the one behind us.
Right.
When a guy goes to PGA, to get the training.
The PGA school, the PGA of America school, not PGA Tour, PGA of America. The guys that are running running your shops, your tournaments, and
you can take a class in
You
this,
can take the calligraphy classes, that's right. And I can tell you, I've seen some guys go through the calligraphy class, and they're not any better when they come out than when they started. Some guys have a little shaky hand, but yeah, it's a real talent to put up a scoreboard like that. Yeah.
Well, the one we have behind us is actually from a PGA Tour qualifying school right here in La Quinta, and a few years ago.
Yeah.
D.H. Lee was the winner that year.
Yeah.
Our friend Jeff Gove's on this sheet.
Yeah, we see Jeff Gove at -21, who's part right here in the valley. So.
Yeah, so kind of cool. When we talk about qualifying, what's true about qualifiers like this is far more players don't qualify than do. When you're talking about the qualifiers that take place, say, at the local level for, say, the USAM or the State Am, so a lot of times it's 50 people for two spots.
That's right.
That's a lot of people disqualified.
That's right.
I find the same thing, sadly, to be often true in the church, among the people of God, that we kind of look at each other and say, well, he's not up to snuff, she doesn't have what it takes, and we tend to disqualify people.
It's a great point. The reality is exactly what you're saying. It is so challenging in the golf world, especially if you're trying to get to that next level. There are players that are so phenomenal, and you get, literally 1% of 1% of 1%, it feels like, over the course of, that actually rise. People that you would know, the Phil Mickelsons of the world, they're really exceptional. And then they have the journeyman, and even then, it's such a small percentage. Unlike, for instance, basketball, each game, one team wins, one team loses.
That's
but
right, yeah.
It's not one guy wins and then the rest of the players don't win. It's one team. So it's, if they're equally matched, it's about 50-50. That's sometimes the way we carry it over into the church, and it certainly was not the spirit of Jesus at all. When we think about Jesus, he was constantly qualifying people that the religious elite had already disqualified in their minds.
Yeah.
The poor they had disqualified because they felt like, if they were poor, then they weren't being blessed by God. And if they weren't being blessed by God, there was a reason they weren't being blessed by God. Jesus flips that thing upside down.
Yes, he does.
And said the tax collectors and the prostitutes and the golf pros and those in ne'er-do-wells, they're entering the kingdom before you. So Jesus came down and is literally turning their perspective on who qualifies and who doesn't qualify, and gives us an ethos, I think, for us to have in our own missional communities, our own links fellowships, our own groups. When people come in, Lord, how can we qualify them? How can we tell them that they've been qualified through the cross? And it really is a mentality. It's a grid. It's a filter that you have to filter people through, where before, they may be in this community or that community, and good Christians don't do that. You may even qualify and disqualify people on the basis of a political affiliation. It's crazy how we begin to do that, or a look, or hair length, or whatever.
I'm thinking of the first couple of verses of Romans 15, where Paul talks about bearing with one another. We're not all the same. We don't have all the same qualities, the same skills, the same measure of faith, but the Lord is equipping us all.
Yes.
And so he says, encourage one another, build each other up.
I love that. In fact, I'll read it. It's Romans 15, 1 and 2. It says, now we who are strong ought to bear the weaknesses of those without strength and not just please ourselves. let each of us please his neighbor for his good to his edification. You know, we try to build a culture of honor and this really gets back, and maybe we can talk about this in another segment. It gets back to everybody's created in the image of God. And we don't qualify people based on all their other things. We qualify people on the imago Dei. We qualify people on the reality that they've been created in the image of God.
That's right.
And so to hallow God's name is to recognize the image-bearing capacity of even the worst, the lowest, the most disqualified.
Wow. Well, let's talk about some of these things. We've got 7 more sessions with you at least. Maybe we'll add 1 or 2 along the way. But we're going to look at a couple of ways that, yes, you can be disqualified, but the many ways that the Lord's going to try to qualify you for kingdom work as you live your life with Christ.
Excellent. And it's good to have you back. I know you feel the same.
Thank you, sir.